that there are some unspeakable things is the cornerstone of being a human being. Someone who thinks every word is you're able to say it, they've lost a piece of their humanity. Some things shouldn't be said. Why is it that Westerners try to prod and poke every fucking prohibition and limit that common human sense imposes on them? Like, for example, remember when we were watching that Denims clip and she was like talking about incest and how why do you have to fucking poke and prod every fucking thing? And subject every fucking thing to some airtight, consistent system? Oh, if it's not consistent in the system, it can't be justified. This is the issue of Western rationalism. This is the disease of Western rationalism. The issue isn't the notion that the world is rational. The world is rational. It's the assumption that you can know how it is rational before the fact. Like, first you have to establish why it's rational, and then you proceed from there is Western rationalism. To me, a more Eastern rationalism means you a priori assume there's a deeper rationality and meaning to the world, right? But you don't assume you know why. Like, there is a reason why incest is prohibited. It's just that I don't know why. I don't know why. I have to put in work to actually know why that is. And that knowledge isn't only in your head. It's also an experience. That sounds fucked up, like you have to experience it. But it's also acquiring some kind of sense, going through some type of encounter where you realize, shit, this is why the fucking ancestors prohibited this shit. This is why this is so fucking prohibited. Now I fucking get it. That type of experience, that type of enlightenment is totally different from developing systems in your head. It's a fucking mythical journey. It's a mythical type of journey. Discovering why the things in our society are prohibited, are sacred, are unspeakable is a fucking journey. It's a mythical journey. What that means is that you don't sit on your ass and say, let me pontificate purely in my head. No, because you have to invest your emotions. You have to invest your senses. You have to invest your aesthetic. And only at that level will you rediscover the ancient truths. You'll discover the sacred truth of common sense. That's the meaning of wisdom to me. Wisdom to me means you don't just have to accept it because it's established, but you cannot make the assumption that if you cannot justify it in your head formally, that it's meaningless. You cannot premise the deeper rationality of the world by the limited formal means you establish in justifying it subjectively. But people like Vosh approach this entirely different. They say, well, is incest justified? Let me run it through my own head. What's so wrong with it? No one's being harmed. No harm's being done. It's consensual between adults. I think I'm a revolutionary because I've just overturned the whole history of human history. And here I stand, Vosh. Incest is no longer prohibited. And they actually think like that. I mean, this is the disease of Western rationalism. This is the disease of Western modernity. They're so fucking arrogant that they think they can arrive at the sacred truths common to mankind and human civilization across history by running it through the most vulgarly abstracted fucking systems in their head. Formalizations. Dude, you're so smart. Only what you can create as a formally airtight system in your head is not even a fucking fraction of what it means for there to be meaning in this world. Human meaning. Let me give you the different ways of understanding human meaning. The first way is the Western rationalist way. Meaning is formal consistency. Formal consistency is meaning. The Eastern and dialectic and Marxist way is that meaning is only arrived at not when you create a formally consistent system, but where you arrive at the limits and the impossibility of trying to formalize everything and accept the limitation of that in some determinate way. You realize the limit of rationalizing, and how that limit is expressed is different across history and across time. But that limit is wisdom. When you surrender and say, I cannot overcome this rationally in my head, you're acquiring wisdom. You're acquiring wisdom. When you arrive at a position where you are just speechless, that's a part of the mythos of meaning. That's a part of the journey of arriving at meaning in the world. Meaning isn't formal consistency. Formal consistency ends up being dissolved into unintelligible equivalences. There's only intelligibility among forms because there's something that resists formalization. There's something outside of the formalization. Can we formally justify the fact of how we're born, like where we actually come from when we're born? I know Western rationalists like, well, no, because that's a scientific fact of nature, and yeah, because they're trying to superimpose the formalization onto nature itself. That's a different story. But intuitively, we know we are born in this world, we enter into this world in a way that cannot be formally premised by anything. We are delivered to the world in a determinate way, despite not being able to premise those terms of our determination in a formally consistent way. Well, I didn't choose to be a part of my family. Is it justified that I live in a family? It's just like Dylan Burns, the debate. What did he say? He said, well, let's run it through the hypothetical. China's claims in the South China Sea. Let's run it through my hypothetical. What if the U.S. decided to steal from Mexico based on the Mexico-American War? Would that be justified? What's the fucking problem with this? What's the problem with this? This hypothetical of his. He's assuming that the normative, moral, and ultimately individually agential position of enunciation for which this hypothetical is meaningful, because ultimately the hypothetical is about this. Is it okay? We wouldn't think it would be justified for the US to do this, so why is it justified for China to do this? But they're assuming a position of an individual moral agent. That's their position of enunciation. It's not a question of whether it's justified or not. It's a question of what it is. That's the problem. These historical phenomena, like territorial disputes, cannot be